Hello and welcome back to Major League Talk Giants edition. Today is Monday, April 10th, 2023. My name is Henry, and this is episode 4. We're going to be going over the series against the Kansas City Royals. This was our home opening series. This would be our home opener, like I said, and we were playing at Oracle Park for a 3-game set, and we ended up losing the series 1-2. And this was just overall disappointing, especially when you consider the fact that the first home runs hit at Oracle Park this year were given up to the Royals and did not come from a Giant. In game 1, the Giants lost 3-1, our only run coming from an RBI single from Sable, scoring Yaz. In game 2, the Giants worked to a 5-1 lead, and then our collapse started in the top of the 7th with Stripling giving up a leadoff home run. And then his troubles would continue into the 8th, where he would give up 2 straight singles and then the game tying 3-run home run to Salvi Perez. Giants ended up losing 6-5, so that's our first truly heartbreaker game of the season. In the final game, the Giants managed to avoid the sweep, scoring all 3 of the runs in the bottom of the 8th, with Flores getting an RBI double and scoring Johnson, and then Conforto hitting a 2-run shot. The starting pitchers for each game were Keller versus Cobb, Singer versus Minaya, and then Buvic versus De Sclafani. Our top performers for the Giants were Sable, who had 2 great catches, one in game 1 out in the outfield, and then one in game 2 as the catcher. And then Conforto with his 2-run shot to give us the 2 go-ahead and ultimately winning runs in the final game. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to try and make this brief because this was a very disappointing home opener series. Game 1, starter on the mound was Cobb. Like I said, he went 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, struck out 6, and gave up 2 runs and no walks. For the lineup, we had Wade Jr., then Conforto, VR, Peterson, Yaz, Estrada, Crawford, Sable, and Perez. Davis would end up coming in Wade's place. Johnson would end up coming in later in VR's place. And then Flores would come in later for Perez, taking his place in the lineup. Wade Jr. went 0 for 3. Davis would go 1 for 1. Conforto went 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a walk. VR went 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a walk as well. Johnson did not get a chance to bat. Peterson went 1 for 3 with a walk. Yastrzemski went 1 for 4 with a strikeout and a run. Estrada went 1 for 3 with a walk. Crawford went 0 for 3 with a walk. Sable went 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and 1 RBI. Perez 0 for 2 with a strikeout, and Flores 0 for 1 with a strikeout. As far as relievers and closers, Taylor Rogers would come on for 1 inning, give up 2 hits, 1 walk, and a run on a home run to Perez. Duvall closed the game, pitching for an inning, giving up no hits, runs, or walks, and getting 1 strikeout. Ultimately, in this game, it, just like the rest of the season, has been up and down with our offense. This one also was pretty quiet. Ultimately, for our batters, they went for 18 first pitch strikes, 25 called strikes. They swung and missed 16 times. They fouled off 32 balls, got 10 ground balls and 7 flies, 8 strikeouts total in this game. So sadly, that is a season low so far, only getting the 8 strikeouts, and then drawing 5 walks. Like I said, the offense cooled way off, so no home runs. And as far as full counts for this game, we did work to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full counts on the batter's side. VR worked to a full count, got a walk. Yaz worked to a full count, ended up lining out. Estrada worked to a full count and then walked. Sable worked to a full count and struck out swinging. Peterson worked to a full count and walked. And then he also worked to a full count and hit a triple. And then Crawford worked to a full count and walked. And then Cobb would get worked to a full count in the 4th and get Dozer out swinging. So let's take another further look into this as far as, as far as our own players. Ultimately, Peterson got the 1 triple. Sable got the 1 RBI. It was a 2-out RBI, so that was good for us. Crawford did end up grounding out into a double play at one point in the game. We ended up leaving 7 on base and went 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. He had 1 run on 5 hits with 1 error ultimately on this one. And it sucks as a home opener to have that kind of a performance, especially after coming from Chicago and you had just this massive home run performance out there. Um, so it is what it is. It's disappointing all around. Um, we did end up, like I said, giving up a couple of home runs. Um, the way they scored, though, the first one was Isbell single to right, or Lopez, excuse me, single to right, scoring Isbell, moving Dozer over to third. Um, our one run came in the bottom of the second, like I said, with Sable singling and Yaz scoring. And then Pasquantino would homer off a pitch from Cobb. This was a pretty lengthy at bat. Um, this was a 2-2 count, and Pasquantino had fouled off 3 times before he finally got the splitter, kind of in the middle there, a 90-mile-an-hour splitter. Ended up hitting it out. That would put the Royals up to 1. And then from there, another Perez home run would make it 2-1. This was a 1-0 count from Rogers, and it was low, but it's Perez. Perez likes to hit low, so this was low and in the middle, a 4-seam fastball, and he kind of golfed it out of there. And that ended up being that put it at 3-1. So let's look at some of the pitching performances from this game. Like I said, Cobb started us off. He threw 97 pitches. His pitch mix was 44 splitters, had 32 sinkers, 10 sliders and knuckle curves, and only 1 4-seam fastball. Most of his splitters were 91. His knuckle curve averaged at 84.5, sinker 95, slider 86. Some decent movement from all of those pitchers, especially the sinkers, and splitters had some decent move, and the knuckle curve and the sliders were breaking decently. Relatively same release point from all these pitches. The strike zone, he was pretty good at getting mostly around the zone. As far as all of his pitches, he threw 51 in the zone and 46 out of them. Batters would swing at 54 of his pitches, and most of them look like they're splitters. And they would end up taking mainly sinkers with a few of the others peppered in there. So 43 taking, 54 swinging. He threw 24 balls. He got 19 called strikes, 13 swinging strikes. 20 were fouled off. 13 were put in play but were outs, and 8 were base hits. He had 11 hard hits and 10 soft hits. So overall, not bad from Cobb. We just did not give him the offense to back him up. Taylor Rogers would come in, and he only threw 12 of his pitches, 5 sliders, 4 sinkers, 4-seam fastball, and a cutter. So they all had a decent movement and about the same release point from those. Strike zone, he was not very much in the strike zone. A lot of those were, if you're a lefty batter, were coming in toward your shins. It looks like he only got 4 of his pitches in the zone, 8 out of the zone. Batters would swing at 4 of his pitches and take the other 8. Looks like the 4 they swung at were 2 4-seamers and 2 sliders. He threw 6 balls, got 2 called strikes, 2 balls in play that resulted in outs, and 2 base hits. And then Duvall would come in throwing 14 pitches, 8 cutters, and then 3 each of a slider and sinker. Not much to work with here. He doesn't really come on for long periods of time, as he shouldn't. The cutter was over 100 miles an hour. And then the sinker was 96.7. His slowest pitch is 89 miles an hour, and that is that slider. Not very consistent movement from a lot of these, but consistent release point. As far as his strike zone, he threw 8 of his pitches in the zone, 6 out of the zone, so that was pretty nice. Batters would swing at 7. and take 7. He would get 3 called strikes, 1 swinging strike. 5 of his pitches would be fouled off, and 2 outs would be put in play, and they'd be outs. He only threw 3 balls. Get a ground ball and a fly ball. So, um, like I said, disappointing performance to start our homestead. As far as our ump behind the dish on this day, it was Clint Vondrak. Overall accuracy 94%, overall consistency 92%. Called 130 of 139 taken pitches correctly, and called 9 balls inside the estimated ump zone and 2 called strikes outside of the zone. His overall favor plus 0.2 runs for Kansas City. Impactful missed calls. The top 3 were bottom of the ninth, and this was the toughest one. Bottom of the ninth, Barlow to Yastrzemski, no outs, runner on third, 2-2 count, and ball is called a strike. And then bottom of the ninth, Barlow Yastrzemski, no outs, runner on third, 0-1 count, strike is called a ball. And then top of the second, Cobb to Duffy, 2 outs, runners on first and third. First strike or first pitch strike is called a ball. So it's called ball accuracy 94%. 5 of 90 called balls are 2 strikes, and called strike accuracy 92. 4 of 49 called strikes were true balls. So yeah, that really bad one there was a curveball outside the zone. And everybody that was watching it, everyone that wasn't the home plate ump knew that it was a ball and should have gotten a full count. Eaz was very obviously and visibly upset. Even Gabe Kapler would back him up in the post-game pressers and whatnot. Yeah, it was a tough call with a runner on. He was working that at bat and just to get a very blatant missed call like that was very upsetting for everybody watching and for obviously the players participating. But let's go ahead and move on to game 2. We had Shamanai on the mound, who had a pretty good showing. Honestly, did clean up what happened in Chicago. He had a much better outing this outing. And Manaya, in combination with Sable in the squat, formed the first overall Samoan battery in Major League Baseball. So that was pretty cool, too. He would go 6 innings, striking out 8, walking 1, giving up only 3 hits, one of which was a solo shot home run to Witt Jr. That accounts for his only earned run in the game. For our lineup, we had Wade Jr., Conforto, Davis, Peterson, Yaz, Estrada, Crawford, Sable, and Johnson. VR would end up coming in and taking Wade's spot in the lineup, and then Flores would take Johnson's in the lineup later on. And those were in a pretty high pressure area for those 2 to come on. Mainly because if you looked at the last game, Sable was going to ended up being the last out of the last game, and he was just swinging for the fences. He didn't look like he was really comfortable there. And Johnson hasn't been performing well either, so that's why Flores would come on to take his spot in the 9th at the end of game 2. Wade Jr. would go 2 for 4, scoring 1, hitting a solo shot home run as well. VR went 0 for 1. Conforto would go 2 for 5 with a strikeout and a run. Davis would go 2 for 4 with a run. Peterson would go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a strikeout. Yastrzemski would go 1 for 4 with a strikeout. Estrada would go 2 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, scored twice though and got an RBI. Crawford would go 2 for 4 with a strikeout and 2 RBIs, and Sable would go 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Johnson 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Flores would go 0 for 1 with a strikeout. And this was, like I said, our heartbreak game. We lost 6-5. And you look at our relievers and closers. Stripling was kind of where this breakdown really happened. Unfortunately, Stripling would come in and go 1.2 innings, giving up 4 hits and 4 runs. walked nobody, and struck out only one. He gave up the 3-run home run to Perez to tie the game after giving up uh, two straight singles, and he'd also given up the leadoff home run in the seventh to the DH Reyes. Brebbia would have to come in and get the last out of the eighth via ground out, and then Duvall would come on in the ninth, attempting to hold the game to a tie game to try and give the Giants a chance to walk it off. Unfortunately, it was a wild pitch to Massey, and Eaton would go ahead and score the go-ahead run. Duvall only got one strikeout in that game. Honestly, like Duvall was, I don't know if he just missed it that badly because of his grip or his nerves or what it was. And then some people mentioned that the stab that Sable would make at it to try and get the ball looked like kind of a rookie a stab to get at it, and he missed it. It got to the backstop, but luckily he quickly got it, and almost it was just Duvall couldn't get down to the mound or to home plate from the mound, and Sable was unable to get to the plate before Eaton would end up scoring. Um, but looking further into the game, our batters would get 26 first pitch strikes on them, would get 29 called strikes on them. They would swing and miss 19 times, fouled off 19 of the balls, got 7 grounders and 8 flies. They had 11 strikeouts total and no walks. And Wade Jr. was the only home run. So all of our runs except for the one were coming, from RBI singles and doubles and whatnot. We were we were using the short ball this time, and it was working out pretty well until, like I said, that third inning, or not that third inning, excuse me, until that eighth inning. Now let's look at full counts real quick. Yaz would work to a full count and end up strikeout looking, and then he'd work up to another full count and then ground out. Pasquantino would work Mania to a full count, then he would strike out looking. Massey would work Stripling up to a full count, strikeout swinging, and Isbell would work Duvall up to a full count, and then he'd strike out swinging as well. Uh, and so we weren't overall very efficient in this game either. Give me 1 second here. You look at our batting. Davis did get a double as well as Estrada. Wade Jr. got that one home run. Crawford got 2 RBIs. Peterson got an RBI. Estrada, Wade Jr. Crawford and Estrada both got 2 out RBIs. Both of Crawford's 2 out or RBIs were 2 out RBIs. Peterson had a sac fly. We left 6 on base and went 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position. For our fielding, we did turn 1 double play. As far as the pitching goes, Stripling would get 4 first pitch strikes. Mania would get 16. Brebbia 1 and Duvall 4 for 4 there with first pitch strikes. For Stripling, he'd get 4 called strikes, 3 swinging with 8 foul balls. Mania would get 10 called with 13 swinging and 19 fouls. Brebbia got none called, but he did get 2 swinging and 1 foul. And Duvall would get 2 called, 1 swinging and 4 fouls. Stripling got 3 grounders to 1 fly. Mania got 5 grounders to 4 flies. Brebbia got 1 grounder. Duvall would get 1 of each. And yeah, like I said, that 7th inning, Stripling would come on and he'd give up the leadoff home run, but then he would get the next 3 outs. So limited the damage to 1 run. 8th inning comes up, and this is where he has trouble. He gets the first 2 outs. So looking like we're going to be able to get out of it. But then he gives up 2 straight singles and then gets Salvi Perez. It's worked to a 2-2 count, pitches low, and Salvi just golfs it for a 3-run shot. Like I said, tied the game. And you've got to wonder, every Giants fan that watched the World Series that we had, Bumgarner, when he was getting Salvi Perez out, pitched high, up, up, up. And you wonder if anybody had told Stripling that with Perez, he likes to hit low and he'll golf one out if he needs to. Unfortunately, it's too late to really look on that. Hopefully, he learns going forward. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. If after seeing him give up a leadoff home run, I honestly would have gone ahead and gotten Brebbia up to start the eighth, and then move on to Duvall in the ninth. But here we are, moving on. Let's look at the pitchers. Like I said, Minaya had a good outing. There's 76 pitches, 30 sinkers, 26 changeups, and 20 sliders. Um, Changeups are 85 and a half, sinkers are 94, sliders 84, almost 85. Decent, decent movement, pretty much same release point. As far as the strike zone, you got 41 pitches in the zone, 35 out. And it looks like most of the ones that were out were changeups low and sinkers high, kind of what you would expect there. Pitches in, sinkers high, changeups low. Batters would swing at 43 of his pitches. It looks like it's a pretty decent distribution of changeups, sinkers, and sliders in that swings. And then batters would take 33. Again, pretty even distribution of all of his pitches. He ended up throwing 22 balls. Like I said, got 10 called strikes, 14 swinging, 18 fouls, 9 hits that result in outs, and then 3 base hits. 9 hit hard as far as hard hits. He got 9 hard hits, 3 softs. So moving on to Stripling, he only threw 40 pitches. 13 sliders, 10 changeups, 9 four seams, 4 sinkers, 3 knuckles, and 1 splitter. So he's kind of all over the place there with what he was using. They varied from about mid 90s to high 70s. So like 92.7 is his highest with his 4 seams, 77.2 is his lowest with the knuckle curve. The movement is okay. His release points relatively the same at over 6 feet, but he was having a hard time finding the strike zone. And a lot of these are like down into the dirt, or if you're a right-handed batter, it's kind of coming in at your feet. He just didn't look like he had a lot of confidence out there. He threw 21 pitches in the zone, 19 out of the zone, and the 19 that are out of the zone, it's not like they're kind of like tightly around the zone, getting swings and misses or chases. They're just all over the place. Batters would swing at 18 of his pitches, take 22 of them. He get 17 balls, 4 called strikes, 3 swinging strikes, 8 fouls, 4 hits, 4 batted balls that would result in outs, 4 hard hits, and 4 soft hits. So, and to be fair, too, it's not like we didn't have a chance to end up winning that game. Yeah, we would get 3 on. So Davis, Peterson, and Yaz would hit 3 singles in the top of the 8th. And then Estrada, Crawford, and Sable would end up striking out. All 3 of them struck out swinging right after that. So we did have an opportunity to win, even with Stripling giving up the 3-run home run. We just could not get anybody across at that point. So John Brebbia would come in, throw 6 pitches to get the last out of the 8th, mainly sliders. Nothing really in the zone there. You only got 1 that was technically in the zone, and it's like clipped the very bottom. I really wouldn't even call that in the zone, but 5 of those pitches were out of the zone. The batter would swing it for them and take 2 of them. 2 swinging strikes, 2 balls, a foul tip, and the out from the ground ball. And then to close it, Duvall threw 14 pitches, 7 sinkers, 5 cutters, 2 sliders. Cutter was at 99 and a half. Sinker was at 98.8. Decently around the strike zone, 8 pitches in the zone. 6 out of the zone. Only one was like really wild, and there's your wild pitch. Batters would swing at 8. It would take 6. You get 4 balls, 2 called strikes, 1 swing and strike, 4 fouls, 2 hits that resulted in outs, and 1 base hit. Like I said, he got the 1 strikeout, but unfortunately, the damage was done with the wild pitch. For our ump, we had Adam Beck. He's 97% overall accurate with 120 out of 124 taken pitches called correctly. 94% consistent, 7 called balls inside the estimated zone, 0 called strikes outside of the zone. And then overall favor, plus 0.02 runs for San Francisco. Impactful calls. So they kind of numbered it weird here, 1.1 and 1.2. 1.1, bottom of the third, Singer to Crawford, no outs, bases empty, an 0-1 count, strike is called a ball. And then a 1-2 count, or a 1.2, bottom of the fifth, Singer to Johnson, no outs, bases empty, 0-1 count, ball is called a strike. And then bottom of the ninth, Chapman to VR, 1 out, bases empty, the first pitch, strike is called a ball. His called ball accuracy, 97%, 2 of 79 called balls were true strikes. And then his called strike accuracy, 96%, 2 of 45 called strikes were true balls. So not too bad there from the ump. So let's move on to the last game, the one that we actually won. Dave Sclafani was on the mound. He goes 6 1/3 innings, giving up 3 hits, 1 run, issuing no walks, and striking out 7. Our lineup for the game, we had Estrada, Flores, Conforto, Davis, VR, Crawford, Wins, Ramos, and Johnson. Yeah, we called up Elliot Ramos. Peterson would come in for Davis later on. Wade Jr. would come in for VR. Sable would come in for Wins. Yaz would come in for Ramos. Estrada went 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Flores went 1 for 4 with a strikeout, an RBI, and a run. Conforto went 1 for 3 with a run and 2 RBIs. That home run, that was a 2-run shot for Conforto. Pete Davis would go 0 for 2 with a walk, or excuse me, 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Peterson would go 0 for 1 with a walk. VR went 1 for 2 with a strikeout. Wade Jr., who replaced him, would go 0 for 1 with a strikeout as well. Crawford went 0 for 3 with only 1 strikeout. Wins 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. Sable, 1 strikeout. Ramos 1 for 3 with a strikeout. Yastrzemski did not get a chance to bat. Johnson 1 for 3 with a strikeout, and he also was scored. We had Alexander come in for the final 2 outs of the 7th, giving up a hit, striking out 1, and giving up no runs. Taylor Rogers would come in the 8th, striking out 1 and giving up a hit. Brevia would come in to get the final out of the 8th via the strikeout. And then Tyler Rogers would come on in the 9th to close out the game on 6 pitches, getting a double play to end the game. And looking at our batters in game 3, 18 first pitch strikes for the guys, 22 called strikes. So it's swing and miss 24 times, foul off 20 balls, get 6 grounders and 7 fly balls. So that's 11 total strikeouts and 1 walk with 1 home run. So for anybody that's counting, that is 30 strikeouts total between the games. We're still averaging double-digit strikeouts in games, and the walks did not really come this time. 6 walks between the 3 games and only 2 home runs between the 3 games. Full counts, Davis would work to a full count and strike out swinging. He'd also work to another full count and then get a ground out. Peterson would work to a full count and walk, and Sable would work to a full count and strike out looking. Dave Sclafani would be worked to a full count and then get Perez out looking, and Taylor Rogers would be worked to a full count by Lopez and then give up a double. So we would end up winning this game 3-1. So that was nice. Like I said, you never really want to get swept in your home opener. So it was nice to see the Giants actually pull a win this time. Johnson scored, and then Conforto hitting that 2-run shot, and this all came in the 8th inning. So in the 9th, we just had to close it down. Um, Flores would get a double. Conforto gets that 1-2-run home run. So Flores and Conforto both get RBIs, and both of those were 2-out RBIs. We left 4 on base and went 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Conforto did steal a base in the 2nd. We turned a double play, but Sable got credited for an error, had a catcher's interference technically. The pitching, Alexander would get 2 first pitch strikes against 3 batters. DeSclafani would get 11 first pitch strikes on 22 batters. Taylor Rogers, 2 first pitch strikes on 3. Tyler Rogers, 3 for 3. Brebbia, 1 for 1. Called strikes, swinging called versus swinging strikes. Alexander, 2 called, 1 swinging. DeSclafani, 17 called, 7 swinging. Taylor Rogers, 2 called, 1 swinging. Tyler Rogers, 2 called, 1 swinging. Brebbia, 1 called, 2 swinging. Foul balls. Alexander would have 4 balls fouled off on him. DeSclafani 22, Rogers 4, Taylor Rogers 4, Tyler Rogers 1. And then as far as ground balls, Alexander got 1 ground balls to no flies. DeSclafani got 5 grounders to 7 flies. Taylor Rogers got no grounders to 1 fly, and Tyler Rogers got 1 and 1. DeSclafani has been good in his first 2 starts of the year. It's been good to see him come back and be able to really produce for us and help keep scores low. He threw 88 pitches, 32 sinkers, or excuse me, 35 sliders, 32 sinkers, then 15 changeups, 5 knuckle curves, and only 1 four-seam fastball. His changeups were 87.7, knuckle curves were 83.7, sinkers 93.7, and then sliders 87.5. Decent movement from all these pitches, relatively the same release point. He was pretty good at staying roughly right around the strike zone. Those knuckle curves, though, would kind of go down and toward a right-handed batter. Those are really the ones that really missed badly. DeSclafani, 48 pitches in the zone, 40 pitches out of the zone. Batters would swing at 44 of them. They look like mainly the sinkers and sliders and the 1 four-seamer. They would take 44 pitchers. So 27 balls, like I said, he got 17 called strikes, 7 swinging, and then 22 foul tips. 12 hits resulted in outs and only 3 base hits. I got only 5 hard hit balls, and those were on his sinkers and sliders. So good work for DeSclafani to start the game. Alexander would come in and only throw 13 pitches, 11 sinkers, and then 1 changeup and 1 slider. Sinkers were 93 miles an hour. Decent movement. Relatively the same release point. A lot of these were like middle or low in the zone. He would end up throwing 6 pitches in the zone and 7 out of the zone. Batters would swing at 7 of his pitches and take 6. He threw 4 balls, 2 called strikes, 1 swing and strike, 4 foul balls, 1 hit out, and 1 base hit. Nothing was hard hit on him. And then we got the first of the Rogers twins, Taylor, for 13 pitches, 5 sinkers, 8 sliders. Sinkers 93.3, sliders 78.9. Relatively decent movement from each of these. Relatively same release point. As far as the zone, he got 10 in the zone, only 3 of them out. Batters would swing at 7 and only take 6. 4 balls, 2 called strikes, 1 swing and strike, 4 foul tips, 1 hit resulting in an out and 1 base hit. And he went 1 for 1 on hard hit and not hard hit. Line drive and a fly ball. Brebbia came in and only had to throw 5 pitches there. 4 sliders, 1 4-seamer. Sliders 83. 4-seamer was uh, there in the mid 90s. Decent movement there, mainly a lot of drop. Um, Relatively same release point. Only got 2 in the zone, and then he got 3 out of the zone. And if you're right-handed batter, that looks like it's coming at your probably at your shin or your feet. As far as where those missed, batters can only swing at one of his pitches. They take 4. So 2 balls, 1 called strike, 2 swinging strikes. So no batted balls there. And then Tyler Rogers, the second of the twins, would come in and only throw 6 pitches. So pretty efficient work there. 3 4-seamers and 3 sliders. His 4-seamers, funky man, only getting up to about 85 on that 4-seamer. 84 is the average. And his slider coming in at 72.2. Decent movement, relatively same release point. And the zone is 50-50. You got 3 in the zone, 2 sliders and a 4-seamer, and 3 out, 2 4-seamers and a slider. And they did not miss by much. They were, if you're a right-handed batter, it looks like it was on the outside part of the plate. Batters would swing at 4 of his pitches and only take 2. And that was also 50-50 on each of those there for 4-seamers and sliders. 3 strikes, 2 called, 1 swinging, 1 fouled hit, and 2 hits resulting in outs. And he got a pop up, and that was not hard to hit, and a ground ball that was hit hard. So Tyler Rogers doing some good work there. Our ump that day was Dan Iasogna. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know how to pronounce that properly. Iassogna. If anybody can actually give me some kind of phonetics there, that'd be cool. Overall accuracy 92%, called 104 of 113 taking pitches correctly. Consistency, he's overall 92%. 6 called balls inside the estimated zone, 3 called strikes outside. His overall favor was plus 0.95 runs for San Francisco. Impactful missed calls, top of the second, DeSclafani to Perez, no outs, bases empty on a full count. Ball is called a strike. 2.1, top of the 7th, Alexander de Reyes, 2 outs, runners on second and third. First pitch, a ball is called a strike. And then 2.2, bottom of the 7th, Hernandez DeWay Jr., no outs, runner on first. First pitch, strike is called a ball. So his called ball accuracy, he was 94% there, 4 of 69. Called balls were true strikes. Called strike accuracy, 89%, 4 of 44, or excuse me, 5 of 44 called strikes were true balls. So there you go. There's your umpire report. So with this series, it brings our record to 4-5, 1 game under 500. Not really where we wanted to be, especially opening up against a 1-6 Royals team at home. We had just come off a 3-3 road trip. I was honestly hoping for 5-4. I would have been happy with that, but that's just the way it goes. And it was just rough in that second game. That was, like I said, truly a heartbreaker. Even had a chance to end up winning it, but what can you do? You move on. The season is still young. We have only played 9 games out of 162. So we are not even 10% into the season. Things can get worse. Things can get better. Hopefully, we're just getting a rough streak out of our system now so that we can end up going on a hot streak later. Like I said, today is Monday. So tonight we have our first game against the Dodgers with Webb on the mound. We'll see how he does after his 2 first rough starts. And yeah, let's just keep hoping for the best and preparing for the worst as Giants fans. That's all we can really do. And let's just try and enjoy this next series, and let's continue to enjoy the season, and we'll see where everything ends up. Once again, thank you for listening. I truly appreciate it. Again, if you have any comments, pointers, tips, corrections, anything, just let me know. Comment on the YouTube, try and message me in any way. Appreciate any and all feedback. Like I guess I'm trying to learn as much as I can while I do this, and I want to put the best product out for you. Um, and most of the sources for the information today was ESPN, Baseball Reference, the umpscorecards.com, and Baseball Savant, as well as reading into some of the articles from The Athletic from Grant Brisbee and Andrew Baggerly, and as well as NBC Sports Bay Area with Alex Pavlovich's articles. Those are always very enlightening. So, signing off today, and I'll see you after the Dodgers series.